Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel Physics Surgery, and here we are in JEE Mains 2021 revision series. We have already done 4 topics, and we were actually in the heat and thermodynamics segment, and this is topic number 5, where we'll be focusing on gas processes and thermodynamics. Okay, so in case you have not yet watched these prior videos, especially the heat and thermodynamics, which is topic number 3 and 4, I would request you to go back and check the series. The link of the series in the description below. Okay, so case you are new to this channel and new to this entire series all the way, right, I would request you to watch the announcement video of this particular series first. Get yourself acquainted with why this particular series is important and what is being covered inside this series, and why is it very almost you could say a prerequisite or a necessity to solve the previous year's questions, that is PYQs. And in what way should we solve the PYQs, in what order we should be solving, and what is the concepts that we are supposed to cover in and around. So what we are going to do is, as I go around taking the PYQs, in between whatever concepts are required, I'll provide you with the additional practice problems and solutions for them. Okay, right? So one more bugging question that will be asked by most of the students in the last leg of their JEE mains preparation is what to do with the physics extra syllabus, right? A lot of it is there. So one of the things that you should be doing is to ensure that you solve the previous year's papers. Especially NTA has been conducting JEE mains from 2019 onwards. So it would be common sense to solve 2019 and 2020 papers completely, both the January and the second shift paper. So I've already done quite a few videos in a separate series in which I have solved these papers. Only the September 2020 shift is left out, and I'll be covering that once this series goes to the last parts of your preparation. Okay, so please do check out this series, the link of which is in the description below. And again, similar idea where the concepts were clearly explained using the best possible solutions. Okay, so let's start with the basic questions. Three perfect gases at absolute temperatures T1, T2, and T3 are mixed. The masses of molecules are M1 and M2 and M3 of those gases, and the number of molecules are N1, N2, and N3 respectively. Assuming no loss of energy, final temperature of the mixture is. As I keep saying in every series of this particular kind, the best way to get maximum efficiency out of this particular series is to have a pen and scribble pad, that just the way you have a scribble pad in your JEE mains. Pause the video at every point, try to work out the problem for 20 seconds to 45 seconds depending on the length of the question, and then only move forward for my explanation. Try compare with the method of yours and mine, and then you can move ahead to the next one. So that's the best way to ensure that you get maximum out of this particular effort. Okay, so I hope you have paused the video, tried it out. Let's move forward to the solution. So mixing of gases, you should be very clear here that the number of molecules is more important, right? Number of the molecules N1, N2, and N3 that are there, and the temperatures are mentioned in this problem. So the value of the moles is not related to the mass at all. The number of molecules divided by the Avogadro number gives you the number of moles. And since there is no loss of energy that is mentioned in the problem, right, you can add the internal energies initially to the final internal energy. So the internal energy is nothing but degrees of freedom into PV divided by 2, or F by 2 PV is the value. On both sides of this equation, F by 2 can get cancelled because they are all of same. This is the problem. In the question, they didn't mention what type of gas they are. So going by the options, you can carefully look at the options and be rational in the exam, that you need to assume that they're of same atomicity if not mentioned. So that's why I'm able to cancel this F on both sides and gives you this answer. Slightly ambiguous question, depends on definitely the atomicity of the three ideal gases. He never mentioned about them, so we have assumed it to get to the answer. Okay, right? Let's move forward. Specific heat of the mixing of gases, we have done already this style of question in the last video on KTG. So we just want to revise these questions. I just wanted to tell you are repeated most number of times. I've taken only 2 of them. There are many more such questions in the past papers. Okay, so consider a mixture of n moles of helium gas and 2n moles of oxygen gas. Molecules taken to be rigid. I already explained the rigid molecules means no vibrational degrees of freedom as an ideal gas, and value of gamma, which is Cp by Cv. Whereas in the second case, he gives the gamma of first gas and gamma of the second gas, again he's asking gamma of the mixture. So these style of questions are one of the favorites of JEE. Okay, so you all know that this mixing is considered to be, again, a no energy loss mixing, right? So you can either, right, use this idea where the new gamma is the new Cp divided by new Cv. And in the last video that I've explained, the Cv of the mixture should be equal to N1 Cv1 plus N2 Cv2 divided by N1 plus N2. Same thing you can do for Cp also. Why is it being done that way? I've already explained in the last video. So this is just a revision of that particular idea. Okay, so same thing you could see in the 38th problem. Let's move forward. This is a practice problem for those, to tell you that it has been repeated in 2020, 2019, April, January, it doesn't matter month or year. They like this problem a lot. Okay, so here's the solution for that, for you to cross verify your answer. For those who got bored about that kind of a problem, right, let's try to spice it up a bit with slightly more difficult situation where a mixture of gases is made to undergo certain processes. Okay, so I would request you to go through this passage that I have made specifically for this purpose. I'll answer these questions in the resolved series, where the toppers doubts are usually resolved, right? So most of the intriguing doubts that are not part of textbooks are usually taken up in this series. So you can check out the link of this particular series description, right? It is there in the link is in the description below, so you can go through that. Okay, so the 13th question is the first one, the 14th one in the next page. Yeah, these are the two questions. Read each and every option very carefully. These are definitely at the JEE Advanced and Olympiad level. Okay, right. It might be asked in the JEE mains, but only part of this particular question could be an exam question in JEE mains. Okay, it'll be very interesting, and definitely you'll enjoy this particular problem. Okay, so comment the answer along with the timestamp below in the comment section, not in the live chat, in the actual comment section, so that later on I can answer then and there itself, or you can wait for the solution when it comes in the result series. Okay, right. Don't forget the timestamp. Polytropic process is another interesting one, very straightforward. I think you learn about this process even in chemistry JE, so you should be very good with this. Okay, so an ideal gas undergoes a quasi-static reversible process in which its molar heat capacity remains constant. So that's one of the prime requirements for a polytropic process. The molar heat capacity should not change with temperature or any states. If during this process the relation of the pressure P and the volume V is given by PV power N is equal to constant, where N is given by, so he's asking what's the value of N in terms of the C's and CP's and CV's. This is the question. Okay, right, so let's try it out. Idea is very simple. On the right hand side, I've already told you that the condition for the C being constant in a process is the process should be polytropic. So these two are if and only if statements. You can actually start from this expression and derive C is constant, and vice versa you can do that. Okay, so I would like you to give it a try to prove this if and only if statement. For the JE purpose, you know, or you should remember this particular resolution because it gives you a lot of shorter ways of solving problems. Okay, so you could say that the value of C in any polytropic process, here he has written as CV plus R by 1 minus X. I don't prefer N is for number of moles, so I'll use X as the power. Okay, so this power is called exponent in mathematical language. That's why X is called polytropic exponent. Okay, X is called polytropic exponent. Okay, so this polytropic exponent here, instead of writing CV, I would request you to remember it in this manner. CV can be written as R by gamma minus 1 minus R by X minus 1. What's the advantage of this? You could clearly see when X is equal to gamma, then this process becomes a special case called adiabatic process. Adiabatic process is a special case of polytropic process. Okay, there are other special cases like constant pressure, constant temperature, constant volume, and adiabatic. All these four are very special cases of polytropic process that we know of. Okay, so you can rearrange this particular expression and you'll get this D option as the answer. Okay, so let's move to the next one. As I said, the special polytropic processes that we generally learn in your physics and chemistry are adiabatic, isothermal, isochoric, and isobaric. And you should know these properties. These are pretty straightforward. I think you all should understand that adiabatic process is associated with delta Q is equal to 0. Isothermal is associated with delta U is equal to 0, which is nothing but delta T is equal to 0. Isochoric is associated with 0 work done because delta V is equal to 0. And isobaric obviously therefore should match to this. This is a very standard question. I think you should have got it on your own. So that's what is the solution here. And in general, always remember that the work done in any reversible process by the gas, work done in any reversible process by the gas is integration of PdV. What you do with that P, whether you bring it out, keep it inside, make it 0, depends on the style of the process. Okay, right. So as you could see in isochoric process on the right side, because dV is 0, work done comes out to be 0. And one more important thing, please do remember that the delta U of any gas in our JE level physics, will not delve into the quantum studies and all that. In our JE level classical physics, we will relate delta U as delta of NCVT. Okay, N can come out if it's a closed box process. If it's not a closed system, or if the number of moles are not constant. In the last video, we have seen a case where number of moles could change either because the gas is entering or leaving, or you can also have a situation where dissociation process takes place. Then in that scenario, this is the general way of writing delta U. So these are some extra things that you need to remember. Okay, so let's move forward. Another style of asking questions is graphical in this chapter. So let's move ahead with this one. Figure shows the variation in temperature delta T with the amount of heat supplied Q in an isobaric process corresponding to monoatomic, diatomic, and polyatomic process. So he's discussing isobaric process in this situation. The initial state of all gases are the same and the scales of two axes coincide. Ignoring the vibrational degrees of freedom, the lines A, B, C respectively correspond to which of these? So A, B, and C, which of these correspond to the poly and mono and diatomic gases? Okay, so give it a try and then move forward with the solution that I am going to present. Okay, so here it is. You know that the value of delta Q is going to be NCP delta T for a constant pressure process. So on giving the same amount of heat at constant pressure, there will be no change in temperature for change in temperature for mono, dia, and polyatomic process. So that the value of this particular delta T, you could say, is related to the number of molecules associated with that process. Okay, right? So since the delta T is high, number of molecules means this is actually related to atomicity. Okay, right? So that's the idea. That is going to give you the option B as the correct answer. Okay, so try to check it out. You could see the mono is associated with A, and diatomic is associated with B, and polyatomic is associated with C. Okay, right. Next one, in an adiabatic process, the density of diatomic gas becomes 32 times the initial value. So you're talking about the adiabatic process. We are doing process by process, one problem on each one. The final pressure of the gas is found to be n times the initial pressure. The value of n is very, very straightforward question. I think you should know the expression for the adiabatic process, the famous PV power gamma equal to constant. You should be able to convert it into all the other styles or other state variables. Okay, this time we are talking about density. So let's move ahead. So we can convert PV power gamma equal to constant into by writing mass divided by density, and therefore P is directly proportional to rho power gamma, or density power gamma is another way for a constant mass gas to have an adiabatic reversible process. Substitute the given information and you'll end up getting the n value that is requested as 128. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Okay, so you have tried it on your own, I hope. Let's move forward. This is a theoretical question just to test your understanding in a practical situation. What is the way you name a process as reversible or irreversible? How do you understand the difference between them? Okay, so let's see that. A balloon filled with helium, 32 degrees centigrade and 1.7 atmospheres, that means greater than atmospheric pressure, bursts. Okay, right. So this could be a cycle tire also, tube of a cycle tire. Immediately after the expansion of helium, right, the this particular process can be considered as which of the four processes that you see on the screen? Okay, right. I think you should know the answer. The process is so quick, the states of the gas are not defined when any quick process takes place. That's why the word quasi-static is associated with reversible processes. So since this is a fast process, two important things: states are not going to be defined. That is, pressure, you cannot define what is the value. The pressure can be only defined when the gas settles down to an equilibrium, okay, thermodynamic equilibrium. So here the process is going to be irreversible, and also it's so fast that there cannot be any heat exchange between the gas and the surroundings as this particular bursting happens. So the idea obviously is that it is irreversible and adiabatic. Okay, right? So if you want to try out more questions on irreversible process, till now JE has not asked many on irreversible process. One that they have done is with the free expansion. Okay, that we'll see as we move along in the rest of the slides. And also some other questions that they have asked are all theoretical situations of irreversible engines. So you want to have a try, especially if you are students preparing for your JE Advanced and Indian Olympiads. So here's a question from Pathfinder that you should be trying. Okay, right. So it's from the objective type 24 of thermal physics chapter. So please do give it a try, and I'll give the solution of this in the Pathfinder solution series. Okay, so very straightforward at JE advanced level. Definitely you should be able to get this. Only thing is you need to notice whether the process given is reversible or irreversible. Okay, and I've already underlined for your convenience the important word that gives you the guidance in this particular problem. Okay, so let's move forward. An engine takes in 5 mole of air at 20 degrees centigrade and 1 atmosphere and compresses it adiabatically to 1/10 of the volume, right? Assuming air to be diatomic ideal gas made up of rigid molecules, right? Change in its internal energy during this process comes out to be X kilojoules, the value of X is. So how do you estimate the internal energy during a adiabatic process? Remember, dq is 0, du is not 0, dw is not. So if you know each one of these, right, other thing can be calculated. I think delta U is the easiest way to calculate in any process. So that's how we move ahead in this particular problem. Slightly lengthy calculation, I know, but you should be able to get this. Okay, so on the right side, for those students who generally don't find it in your notebooks or textbooks, this is the way you actually derive the mugged up formula of adiabatic process. So adiabatic process, you don't directly have PV power gamma equal to constant. Someone derived it. Okay, and this is the way that person would have derived it. You start off with dq is equal to 0, and then you write du plus dw is 0, and du is, as I told you, f by 2 times of, remember, nrt, d of nrt. D of nrt should be d of pv. dw is pdv for for a reversible process, and then d of pv, I'll split it into pdv and vdp, and both the pdvs from here and here I'll combine to this factor, and vdp term will be alone here. Okay, and you rearrange, you'll end up getting this, and you know f by f plus 2 by f is the nothing but gamma, and then therefore gamma pdv plus vdp comes out to be equal to 0. You multiply this entire thing with v power gamma minus 1, therefore this will become v, right, gamma into p v power gamma minus 1, and v power gamma dp gives you the uv type of calculus rule, chain rule, and then therefore the product rule, I should say, not chain rule. Then you'll get pv power gamma equal to gamma. That's how the gamma is found out. Okay, so this fraction would have become the power here, and therefore people thought this is a very important fraction, and that's why I named it as gamma, just not for fun. Okay, right? So pv power gamma comes out to be equal to constant in adiabatic process, which is converted to tv power gamma minus 1 in the solution, and then they go by. So I was not actually interested in explaining the solution here. I just wanted you to have an insight into how the pv power gamma comes into your textbooks. Okay, so this is the way it is done. Okay, right. Let's move ahead. Practice problem on polytropic process, right? So I try to make a quickie question. So there is a physics study quickies in which I'll solve some short, simple concepts whenever I don't have time, but I would like to communicate some important things during the exam preparation time for the students. I'll come up with some nice and simple short videos in this particular series. Okay, so try to answer this one. This is very standard Olympiad. I think this was asked in one Olympiad question paper. I don't remember which countries, but this is a very interesting question. So you have to understand that this type of process would be a polytropic process, and you need to tell me what's the value of that X in that polytropic case. Comment your answer below along with the timestamp so that I can answer whether you are done it correctly or not. Okay, so let's move forward. So here are other polytropic processes practice for JEE mains for first question and JEE advanced for the second question from Pathfinder object to type. Very interesting and simple question. The first one, I like it a lot because it also revises our KTG concept of frequency of collisions. But this time frequency of collisions not amongst themselves, but of the atoms with a unit area of walls. I already told you in the third uh, and fourth topic videos that frequency of collision among molecules is different and frequency of collisions with the walls is different. So please do check out that video, and you should be able to ace through very simply. Okay, so let's move forward. Next style of questions that JEE mains people are usually interested in are the identification of graphs. Okay, they'll give one type of graph, ask you to identify among the four options the other type of graph. That means P versus V would be given and the other state variables would be asked to be matched for. Okay, so you can pause the video here, try it out on your own, and then you move forward. Okay, so equivalent cyclic process corresponding to the cycle of PV here, where 1 to 2, this curve is given adiabatic in the question. You need to search for it, and graphs are obviously not drawn to scale. Okay, right, so you should be able to identify. This adiabatic process is more difficult, so always search for the constant pressure and constant volume and constant temperature. They are easiest in V versus T. So you could see 3 to 1 is a constant volume. So in that constant volume situation, you should have a straight line, right? And out of these four, 1 to 3 or 3 to 1, I should say 3 to 1 is a straight line here and here, but it is not here, so D is ruled out, and so A, B, C are left out. Like that, if you can go for 2 to 3, which is constant pressure, that constant pressure process is a straight line passing through origin in V versus T. So you should have a 2 to 3 like this or like this. This one is gone. Okay, so answer should be one between A or C, and that now you need to understand how to draw a adiabatic process 1 to 2 in each of these. Should it be straight line? I don't think so. Should it be a curve? Maybe I think so. So that is how you should eliminate very quickly during the examination. So I'll give you the reference of this graph, and as I guessed it correctly, answer is C definitely. Okay, as you could see. So let's move forward. This is a practice problem for you to try. If a V versus T graph is given, how can you draw the P versus V? I'll leave the solution in the next slide for you so that you can match your attempt. Okay. Right. So they keep asking. I just picked two problems. There are many more such things. You can actually practice from them. Right. These are very scoring. You should just be matching from the options. Okay. So don't leave the practice of these questions. Okay. So here's the answer. Not going to explain and waste your time. So let's move forward. Next type of questions, right? So where they'll be discussing about adiabatic works, isobaric works, etc., etc. So work-based questions. So let's move forward quickly. A liter of dry air at STP expands adiabatically to a volume of 3 liters. If gamma is equal to 1.4, the work done by this air, if this fraction is given, is how much? Okay, so slightly calculation based questions. So how do you calculate the work done? As I already told you, work is nothing but negative of change in internal energy. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to do on the left hand side. Okay, so negative of change in the internal energy would be this number. Remember, Q is equal to 0, so W is equal to minus delta U, which would be related to NR by gamma minus 1, and NRT by gamma minus 1 is associated with this fractions PV by gamma minus 1 before and after. Okay, so or you could have alternately used the fact that whenever you see STP, one bulb should get lit in your mind. About 1 mole of gas at STP always occupies 22.4 liter. So very useful one. I'm not saying here it would be very useful, because if you go by this alternative method of using the volume and getting to this particular fraction, you'll take almost similar time as what he has done in the textbook here. Okay, so here alternative solution is not superior. I'll present few more problems that appeared in the past wherein this 22.4 liter idea would be very useful to remember. Okay, so let's move forward. 1 mole of an ideal monatomic gas is compressed isothermally in a rigid vessel to double its pressure at room temperature 27 degrees centigrade. The work done on this gas will be, so we have done adiabatic work. Now we are looking at the isothermal work. So how do you estimate the isothermal work? PV is equal to nRT. Remember, in isothermal process, this entire right hand side is a constant, assuming number of moles is constant. Therefore, your integral PdV, which is a general rule for the work, the P can be written as nRT by V, and this nRT part can completely come out. That is the beauty of isothermal process. So this nRT times of integral dV by V. So initial to final volume ratio in logarithm decides the value of the work done in isothermal process. So if you've got that one right, I think you should be able to match your answer with this solution that the textbook has given. Okay, right? Let's move forward. Now, I told you the STP type of question that you'll end up having, wherein there is an advantage for students who remember the 22.4. So let's look at this. A cylinder with a fixed capacity of 67.2 liters contains helium gas at STP. The amount of heat needed to rise the temperature of the gas by 20 degrees centigrade, given the value of R in SI units. Okay, so have a try and then match it with your solution on screen right now. Okay, so here's it, and you're looking at what type of process. The process is going to be fixed capacity. Can you see that very carefully? This fixed capacity means constant volume, isochoric. In isochoric process, what's the value of Q? Q is NCV delta T. The only interesting part here in this question is how to get the number of moles. Number of moles is, if 22.4 liters occupy 1 mole, then 67.2 would have occupied this fraction. Okay, so that, and 3R by 2 is the CV of a monoatomic helium gas. Okay, so that should give you the required answer. Let's move forward. Revision of mean collision time from the previous video, because some of you might have skipped that particular video, so I just wanted you to remind. And in that particular video, I have given some other questions, so these are different questions from that. So this is just to test whether you have been reminded about that particular question and how many times they actually repeat this question. So this doesn't appear in JEE Advanced. This is exclusively JEE Mains concept most of the times. In JEE Advanced also, they will someday ask this one for sure. It's a very interesting and very confusing concept about mean collision time. Okay, so please do watch the previous video and then try to answer this. There is an issue with this, why I picked this question also. Even the JEE Mains people actually got the key wrong as far as I remember. Let's check it out. Okay, so as I said, topic 4 video, kinetic theory of gases, exclusively covers. I've almost devoted more than 20 minutes to explain the concept of this mean collision time, right from NCERT level to the Olympiad level, and also solved some important PYQs and practice problems. So please make sure you go to the topic 4 video, link is in the description below. And if you want to jump to that concept of mean collision time, you can directly go to the 37th minute and spend somewhere around 20 minutes to understand this. Okay, so then only you'll be able to appreciate the question that just flashed on the screen in the previous slide. Okay, so here's the solution. The relaxation time, this was a bonus given because the answers didn't match with the key, and the value of the relaxation time is proportional to the mean free path divided by VRMS. Mean free path is proportional to volume and VRMS is proportional to square root of temperature. And since he said adiabatic process, you can write T is all further proportional to this. Substitute the T and V relation into this, you get 2 power 1 plus gamma by 2. Whereas in the options, in the last one, he gave half power. It should have been exact inverse of this option D. And therefore, JE was forced to give bonus for such a nice actual question. They spoiled it unnecessarily. Okay, so by the way, they didn't spoil it in another year. So to tell you how often the questions repeat, the previous question was a repetition of actually a 2015 question with the similar concept. Only difference this time is the volume power was asked. Last time, I think temperature power was asked. So both are related to each other. So you should be able to get the practice of this. Okay, so try it out and match it with the solution in the next slide that I'm going to give you. So here's the solution. You should have got this one right if you watched through the previous video completely. Let's move forward. So another practice problem I have picked up from NCERT. I took the text of NCERT, converted them into single option correct type questions. With these questions, I'll answer it in the NCERT physics in-depth doubts section. So they're not very tough ones. So most of you good students should be able to solve them on your own. So try to comment your answer for the first one and second one. Second question, I picked it up from the points to ponder. There are important points to ponder at the back of every chapter, which you should not ignore. JEE mains have been known to pick up questions from this points to ponder, and also NCERT exemplar quite a lot in physics. Okay, so comment your answer along with the timestamp so that I can correct them for you. Okay, right, let's move forward. Another style of questions in thermal physics are the difficult looking easy problems. Okay, wherein the question on the face value looks very scary, but when you read it, actually it's very simple. Okay, so let's move ahead. What's the way to solve such questions? Always have open mind. Don't try to look at the face value of the question and try to get scared. Read the question, read all the four options, and then decide. That is the primary mindset you should have as a student in such a high pressure examination. Okay, right. 1 mole of an ideal gas passes through a process where pressure and volume obey the relation P is equal to P naught into some function. He has given pressure as a function of volume. Okay, and these are constants. Calculate the change in the temperature of the gas. He's talking about the change. Okay, so this spelling, this should be change in the temperature of the gas if its volume changes from V naught to 2V naught. Okay, right. I think by now you should have understood why I was talking about it being an easy problem. So there's nothing about PDVs and all this. He's talking about PV is equal to nRT. So you should never lose the sight of the fact that among all these hi-fi formulae you learned, the basic gas equation formula, that is the PV is equal to nRT, is something that you should always keep in mind and keep yourself interested in. Okay, he's talking about giving a function. He gave initial volume, final volume, so that gives you initial pressure and final pressure. Substitute initial values and final values in this to get the temperature TF and TI, and then subtract. That's it. It's as simple as that. Only takes some manipulation, but I think this is one of the easiest problems that we have solved till now in today's video. Okay, let's move forward. Next style of questions are work done in cyclic processes. Okay, very standard rule, right, that you should know by now, that in a P versus V, and that to SI unit type of a graph, you will have work done by the gas as integration PdV, which should be area enclosed by the cyclic process. Not only that, if the cyclic process is a clockwise one with P on y-axis, it should be positive work, and if it's anti-clockwise, it's a negative work. Clockwise is called an engine, and anti-clockwise is going to be called as a refrigerator. Okay, so these are basic things that you should have done from your NCERT physics. Okay, so here's the answer for the work done. Area of the triangle, please don't forget it. Okay, let's move forward. I made a practice problem, slightly tricky one. Read the question. I'll provide the solution now itself for this practice problem. Okay, there's a PV diagram of ideal gas. Work done by the gas in the process ABC. A, B, C, right? This is V naught, this is 3V naught, this is P naught, this is 3P naught. Find the value of X if the value of work is X P naught, P naught. Okay, why I said tricky, I'll tell you. I think 99% of you would have got it right. But in JEE Mains, the tricky problems get hold of some students only. So you should not be those. The problem with this question is people will be in the urge of applying the triangle rule, but they forget to see that the process is not cyclic. A, B, C is from here to here. C to A is not completed. So the work in such a process is going to be the complete area. The area of this part, complete enclosure. That means even this one. So it should be both triangle plus the rectangle below, and therefore the answer comes out to be 4P naught V naught. Always check whether the process given is cyclic or not. And based on that, just make sure you go ahead with your concept. Okay, right. Let's move forward. Next type of questions are the maximum temperature attained in a process, especially when straight lines are given in a P versus V graph. Okay, straight lines in P versus V, obviously temperature will change. So let's try to see. This has appeared quite a few number of times, even in JEE Advanced also. So there are multiple methods. I'll give you the shortest way to solve this problem. 1 mole of an ideal monatomic gas is taken along a path A, B, C, A, right? At times they'll not give you the arrows here. They'll mention it in the letter form here, okay? Shown in the diagram. The maximum temperature attained by the gas along the path BC is given by, okay? So that's what he's trying to talk about. Give it a try. I think some of you might have solved this in the past also. It's a very standard question, right? So I'll show you the solution given in most textbooks and also uh, most of the standard sources in internet. So they write the equation of the straight line BC. Let me say BC is some straight line. You know the 2-point form of a straight line, right? X1 comma Y1 and X2 comma Y2 are the 2 points on a straight line. You should be able to write this straight line equation. Y is equal to m times of x minus x naught into that number. Then you write P is equal to nRT by V here and get the value of temperature as a quadratic function. So temperature comes out to be quadratic function of volume, dt by dv is equal to 0, pure calculus idea. Then you'll get the place where the temperature becomes maximum, that 5 by 4 V naught. Substitute that 5 by 4 V naught back in this and you'll get the required answer. One way. Alternatively, if you know the idea of how an isotherm looks like in a pressure versus volume graph, pressure versus volume is an isotherm which is rectangular hyperbola. Remember, PV is equal to constant. Not only that, when you draw many such hyperbola on the same graph paper, as you move in the upper direction like this, the temperature of the isotherm keeps increasing. So this isotherm is at a higher temperature compared to this, because obviously this will have a greater value of P into V. P into V is directly proportional to T, right? So this idea should give you this alternative solution. So I hope you're ready. Some of you might be knowing this, right? So for those who don't, concentrate on this. So in a pressure versus volume graph, if I have the BC process, let me go back to the question to show you which one is BC. This BC line, not drawn to scale, obviously, I have represented it in my isotherms graph like this. So B may be started here and then went to C. How do I know that B started on a higher isotherm, green one, and ended at lower isotherm, right? You go back and check. You could see the B's temperature is related to product of 3 P naught V naught, whereas C's temperature is related to 2 P naught V naught. We are quite sure that the B is at higher temperature than C. That's the reason why I showed it like this. So T2 is a higher temperature, T1 it ends on is lower. So you would say that as it goes, there, remember I have drawn only 3 colors, right? Humanly possible, but conceptually there are many more isotherms in between every two isotherms there are many more. It's a continuous system, so you can always find an isotherm at which this particular BC graph is going to be tangential to that. And what is the special point where this becomes tangent? This is the position where the maximum temperature will occur. How do I know that? Because as I said, between this green and red there will be many more isotherms in which the temperature would be lower than T3 but higher than T2. Okay, so the highest value of the temperature among all these points would be the T3 itself, because no other isotherm in between T2 and T3 will have temperature more than T3. Okay, so that's the thumb rule. Tmax occurs when that process BC is tangential to an isotherm. Okay, what is the slope of BC? If you got from the coordinate system, right? Coordinate system is known. Slope is y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. That straight line slope gives you this. And what is the slope of an isotherm? How do you find the slope of an isotherm? You know that it is PdV plus VdP is equal to 0 for an isotherm. And therefore, the slope of isotherm, which is dP divided by dV, should be equal to minus P by V. Right? I solved this one. So that's what I substituted here. Can you see? So the slope of isotherm and slope of BC should match if it has to be tangent. So substitute this P by V is equal to 2 P naught by V naught in the straight line equation that you got here. So after getting this equation, you need not do all of this calculation. In this straight line equation, just substitute the value of P by V is equal to this. And that will give you a quicker solution of V is equal to 5 V naught by 4. So this tangent thumb rule will be very essential and would be useful not only in this question. I'll give you a practice problem in which you should be able to use, right? So two practice problem, one a similar one slightly different one. Okay, so here's the practice problem which came in the previous exam. Actually 2016 question has been repeated as the 2018 question, could carefully observe. Okay, so you can solve this one. Slightly different numbers, but concept is the same. I'm not that much interested in this. You should be able to ace through and check the solution in the next page. I'm moving forward. Try to use the shorter method. The solution I pasted from the book is the longer one. The shorter one that I have used, try to use that and match and get the confidence. Okay, this is the question I'm talking about from the Pathfinder, wherein read the last line. Okay, right, find the volume of the gas. This is your straight line process when the process turns from an endothermic to an exothermic one. Try to interpret this in a proper manner and try to use a similar to the previous shorter method. Okay, it's not the same I'm saying, but it will be a similar practice problem. Okay, so wait for the solution I'm going to give in the Pathfinder solution series. Some of the good students that you are will be knowing the solution, the shorter one for this also. Okay, so a very famous problem asked in Olympiad once. Next one is the photon gas problem, one of the famous JE questions. 2015 was one of the toughest JE mains papers, so offline one. So this was a question, right, which I have already solved in my channel. I'll talk about that. Consider a spherical shell of radius r at temperature T, and the black body radiation inside it can be considered as an ideal gas of photons. Okay, ideal gas of photons with internal energy per unit volume, small u, which is nothing but capital U by volume, proportional to T power 4. He's talking about Stefan's type of law. Okay, and the pressure is 1 by 3 times of U by V. The same 1 by 3 related to the ideal gas, where you take the 3 possible degrees of freedom. If the shell now undergoes an adiabatic expansion, the relation between T and R is. Okay, right? One of the striking parts here is, just like ideal gas, he will say, but it is not actually related to ideal gas, because the ideal gas rule tells you in PV equal to nRT, the number of moles are constant. Whereas in gas of photons, when they get absorbed by the walls, the new photons get generated. So the photon number is not the same. Okay, so number is not the same. Here is the catch, that you should not use all the laws that you have in the ideal gas. Okay, so this is a problem of its own, slightly different one. So here's the solution and the caution, what I said, as you could see on the right. Okay, so the pressure comes out to be 1 by 3 kT power 4 from the substitution of the two laws, and therefore you end up having T is proportional to 1 by R. I know this is looking very short and very clumsy looking solution. So you want a better and more explanative way. I can't do it right now for the length of this video. So I've already done a extension of this, not just this question. I extended this question into free expansion question also, and did a originals. It's in the physics surgery original series, where I solve slightly new questions that you might not have seen, creative ones that I have used for my students in several exams in my past experience as a mentor for JE. So please do check out this particular series, and this particular video, you would definitely love it. Okay, so when this was given in the exam, 99% of the students couldn't get it right. It was a passage question with this JE question as the first one, and second one was the interesting, where I talked about the free expansion. Okay, so check the video link in the description below. Another interesting practice problem, which is related to your expansion into vacuum, is from the Pathfinder objective thermal physics. So please do ensure that you go to this problem. This is definitely a JE advanced, even a JE mains level question for sure. Okay, so JE mains in thermal physics, they venture into slightly difficult domain also. So you should not say the level of mains is less in this chapter. This chapter, it's definitely tough at times. Okay, so try this one out. And the next type of questions are the ones where there will be some external mechanical sources of energy, like spring, etc. So this is one straightforward question. So let's move through this. An ideal monatomic gas is confined in a cylinder by a spring-loaded piston of cross-section 8 into 10 power minus 3 meters square. Initially, the gas is at 300 Kelvin and occupies a volume of 2.4 into 10 power minus 3 meter cube, and the spring is in its relaxed state as shown in the figure. Okay, the gas is heated by a small heater until the piston slowly moves out by 1.1 meter. The force constant K is given and the atmospheric pressure is mentioned. The cylinder and the piston are thermally insulated. The piston and the spring are massless and there is no friction between the piston and the cylinder. The final temperature of the gas will be, neglect the heat loss through the lead wires of the heater, and the heat capacity of the heater coil is also negligible. So much information. I remember 2014 online paper was one of the lengthiest papers, not difficult, but took a lot of time for students to actually go through the paper. Okay, so this is one of those questions. You would see such questions in the other chapters from 2014. Remember this year. Okay, right. So let's move forward. Give it a try and then only go ahead with the solution I'm going to provide. Always look out for PV equal to nRT. After all that information, it's pretty straightforward. You're supposed to do integration of PDV as the value of the work associated. Okay, right. And also you should know that when it moves out by 0.1, I think there is no need of work. I'm sorry. Okay, so I jumped the gun. There is no work involved. Okay, so this is just an equilibrium question. Okay, so I apologize again. So for misleading you, this is a question where you have the pressure inside and outside manipulated by the spring force. That's it. Okay. Free body diagram, force equation. That's it. Okay. So you know the initial pressure, you know the final volume because final volume is given by initial volume plus A times X displacement. Get the final pressure and use the ideal gas equation. Always look out for PV equal to nRT. After all that story, even I got foxed just now. Okay, I thought I was going to do integration PDV and all that. So don't fall into trap just like I did right now. Okay, so please make sure you look out for this one. Okay, so let's move forward. Slightly tougher spring problem. Okay, so definitely at the JE advanced level and even IOQP level, right? So National Olympiad level of physics, right? So try this one out. This is interesting. Actually, you can get this answer in 2 steps if you are very good. Okay, and lengthier solutions are less rewarded in Olympiad. So please make sure you try to get this one in a shorter manner and wait for me to provide the solution of this in the Pathfinder series. Okay, next style of questions are efficiency in cyclic processes. Right, they will give you some cyclic process and ask you some efficiency calculations. Slightly these will be on the lengthier side, so whenever you see these questions, try to push them to the end of the examination. Okay, helium gas goes through a cycle of ABCDA consisting of 2 isochoric and isobaric lines as shown in figure. The efficiency of this cycle is nearly, once you see nearly, you know with the numbers that are provided that it will be slightly lengthy calculation. Okay, so how do you calculate efficiency of a cyclic process? The basic idea is the output work divided by the heat given to the system. So in all of this, you should realize that in this process AB, which is constant volume with the pressure increasing, there will be an input of the heat. And for B to C also, there will be an input of the heat. But for C to D, it's because it's a constant volume, but pressure reducing, that means temperature is reducing, there will be a output of heat and there will be output of heat in a similar sense. So all these inputs would be Q ins and outputs would be Q outs. Only Q in should be taken in the denominator. Remember that it is heat given to the system, not total heat. If you take total heat, this will always be 1 because delta U is 0. Okay, so all the arrows that I have put forward, already I have taught you how to calculate the heat calculations in each of the processes, that is isobaric and isochoric. Please go through this solution on your own. You should be able to ace through this particular problem. Just to make you remind, from B to C, which is isobaric, it is NCP delta T, and from that particular part, which is the work done and the heat given, you should be able to calculate the value of that eta. Eta is the W divided by Q in. Okay, so similar practice problem. You see, the JE likes this type of, and that too, they will always most of the times give rectangles with different numbers. That's it. So practice this one and just try to put in time and try to ensure that you get to the answer in less than 1.5 minutes, maybe not more than 90 seconds. Okay, should be good enough, or leave this question to the end of the problems. Okay, and also in case you have choice in this year's exam, try to leave it in the choice if you have easier questions to solve. You see, there is no shortcut to this. You have to do entire steps and get to the answer. Okay, that's what my point is in presenting this question. Next one is the promised one, the free expansion. Okay, so keeps repeating most of the time. So I took the question from the basic level. Okay, so we'll try to increase the level as we move along. A container with insulating walls is divided into two parts by a partition fitted with a valve. One part is filled with an ideal gas at pressure P and temperature T, whereas the other part is completely evacuated. If the valve is suddenly opened, the pressure and temperature of the gas will be means you are allowing it to settle down, and then after the expansion. So simple diagram. So there's a valve here, there's vacuum here. You open this valve, all this gas will settle down, take some time, and then final settlement takes place. The value of the pressure and temperature is what he's asking. So here he has written, but you should know that there is nothing. Sequence of logic should be, let me write it as you're watching. When there is nothing to push the gas, remember this gas goes in, there is nothing to push it. Therefore, work done on the gas and therefore work done by the gas is equal to 0. And since there is no heat exchange because there is completely insulated, we also know dq is equal to 0, and therefore that implies the value of du should be equal to 0, and that is why the value of temperature comes out to be not changing. Okay, so dt comes out to be equal to 0, which is what he has written, t remains constant. And since t remains constant, in the final state p1 v1 equal to p2 v2, with volume doubling, pressure becomes half. So that's the way the sequence of logic comes. Okay, so this is the answer. Let's move forward. So a lot of people think that throttling process is also a free expansion. That is not correct. And there is a beautiful question in Pathfinder depicting the same in the objective type in question number 22nd. It's definitely not an objective level question. It's way above JE advanced level, and students who are looking for IOQP or National Olympiad level questions, this is one question that you are supposed to not miss. Already made a video in the past on this, very old one. When my channel started at the starting stages, I did this. So link of this video is in description below. It's slightly lengthier video, maybe 13-14 minutes, I guess, I don't remember, but each and every minute of that is a worthwhile experience for you, right? So please don't miss it. And there are practice problems in that also, so make sure you go through that. Okay, so I call that as a genie in a bottle problem. Okay, so bottle is having a vacuum and atmosphere fills that vacuum. Okay, so looks like it's going into vacuum, therefore free expansion, but it is not. Right? All the explanations are there in that video. Next type of questions, there will be a lot of language, but as I said in the PV equal to an RT question, you should be reading the question with open mind. Then the tricky language gets opened very simply. Okay, so let's see. If minimum possible work is done by a refrigerator in converting 100 grams of water at 0 degrees centigrade to ice, how much heat in calories is released to the surroundings at this temperature of 27 degrees centigrade? Okay, right, to the nearest integer he's asking. So there is a refrigerator, there is a heat in calories, there is surroundings, and he's talking about a minimum amount of work. Okay, so how to decipher all of this? You should realize that whenever minimum work and best efficiency and all these things are asked in context of a refrigerator, one word that should flash in your mind is that this is a Carnot refrigerator. T is silent, Carnot refrigerator. Okay, right. So for a Carnot refrigerator, minimum work, best efficiency, therefore you end up getting the Carnot refrigerator or freezer. And standard formula, I'll explain the Carnot engine and Carnot efficiency in the next problem, but for those who already know the logic, I think you can go through this particular solution. This Q W divided by Q2 for a Carnot type of a engine or refrigerator will be directly proportional to higher and lower temperatures. So therefore, you end up getting this solution. You cannot write every Q is proportional to T for every engine. Only for a Carnot engine, you can do this. And how did I get the hint that it is a Carnot engine question, even though the word was not mentioned? That is from the word minimum work. Okay, so that's the tricky language they used in this particular question. A lot of students couldn't get this question in the exam time. So said, let's go through quickly. I'm not going to explain it length. So basic things that you need to know about Carnot engine is that it will have a 4 processes cycle where AB would be isothermal, BC would be adiabatic, and CD would be again isothermal, and DA would be adiabatic. Okay, that means it actually works between 2 isotherms called as T higher or T hot and T lower or TC, which is T cold. So this is a block diagram that you see even in NCERT textbook, where they depict that Carnot engine does the simple duty of picking the heat from higher reservoir and converting a part of it into work. This is the useful part. Remember, an engine needs to perform work. This is the useful part. This is what an engineer is looking for. Okay, and because of efficiency issues, there will be some wastage that will go into the lower temperature or the colder temperature. This is the wastage. Okay, this is unnecessary part. If you can make this zero, this is an ideal engine, but ideal engine won't work. Okay, right? So that is it. QH is equal to W plus QC. And not only that, one more important thing that you can remember, it's derived in your NCERT also, you can check it out, is that these volumes, the 4 important ones, they are related with the ratios in this manner. The best way to remember is the extreme product is equal to in between product. Okay, so you can prove it. It's not a difficult one, but it's a nice little trick for your JEE mains examination. As I said, efficiency is 1 minus QC divided by QH. Actually, it should be QC by QH for a general engine, but for a Carnot engine, you can also prove that this is proportional to temperatures. Okay, right. So that's it. And then general reversible heat engine, I have picked pages from NCERT to quickly revise these things. Okay, so this is the block diagram. We are looking at it from NCERT. Okay, so this Q1 is the Q high and Q2 is the Q low or QC cold. W is the interesting part. So any engineer will say what I require is W and what I gave it to it is Q1. Remember, input is Q1. Q2 is the wastage that I didn't want. Okay, so that's what this is. And in special case of any engine, which is the Carnot engine, you end up getting, this is the general formula and this is the special case formula. Now, another bugging thing for the student is what's the difference between a refrigerator and heat pump? Okay, these two are both used in a synonymous manner, that means same meaning manner, but there is a small little difference that you should note from your NCERT textbook. Again, the pages are from NCERT, so you should go back and read through it thoroughly. You'll never know when JEE mains is going to attack this particular concept. Okay, so a refrigerator is reverse of a heat engine. Here the working substance extracts heat from the cold reservoir. Reverse, exactly. So work is put into it. Can you see? The work is put into it. Input is work, and what is expected is either a Q1 or a Q2. That differentiates your heat pump and heat engine. Okay, so out of this, in both cases, please understand, W is the input. Engineer gives work to it, but what is required? Do you want Q2 or do you want Q1? That is the most important part, and that's where the heat pump will differ from. So read this one carefully. A heat pump is the same as refrigerator, but what term we use depends on the purpose of the device. If the purpose is to cool a portion of the space, like the inside of a chamber, and higher temperature reservoir is the surrounding, we call the device a refrigerator. You put an apple inside a fridge, okay, right, and you are supposed to cool the apple there. That's the duty of a refrigerator. But if the idea is to pump heat into a portion of space, the room in the building or outside environment is cold, then the device is called heat pump. A very good example of a heat pump is your air conditioner or AC as we call it in your room. Okay, so there is a difference between apple getting cooled and entire room that you're sitting right now getting cooled. That's the difference. So in one case, Q1 is the requirement. In another case, Q2 is the requirement. That's why coefficient of performance of a refrigerator is the Q2. Remember, already apple is cold and you want to make it even more colder. The Q2 is the requirement, and coefficient of performance is always requirement divided by input. So requirement here is Q2. Whereas in case of the heat pump, how much you're throwing it into the outside surrounding. Remember, your room gets colder and colder if more and more heat is thrown into your outside of the room. That's why Q1 is the important one. So in that scenario, the heat pump's coefficient of performance, as you could see on the rightmost of the screen, is given by the Q1 requirement by W. That's the main difference between the refrigerator and heat pump. And if they ask with this particular wording, you should be very careful. And otherwise, there's not much difference. Block diagram is the same. What comes in the numerator requirement is different in both the cases. So please do read this and you should be okay after that. Okay. Right. So some straightforward questions once you understand Carnot engine from your JEE mains paper. So 2020 paper, you see the efficiency of a Carnot engine is being used as a refrigerator. So what they do is they give engine's efficiency and use it as a refrigerator. Idea is to get relation of higher temperature and lower temperature. Okay. So if work on the refrigerator is 10 joules, the amount of heat absorbed from the reservoir at lower temperature is, you should know which one is this. This is QC or Q high, or Q1 or Q2. Okay, so once you get that diagram carefully, I think you should be able to ace this particular problem. Q1 is the heat lost from the surrounding and heat absorbed from the reservoir at the lower temperature. Okay, so this is it, and this is the calculation. Okay, right. So let's move forward. Again, the language is important here. So you could see the Carnot engine operates between two reservoirs. Always read whether it is heat pump engine or refrigerator. He is talking about engine here. So it operates between two reservoirs of temperature 900 Kelvin and 300 Kelvin. The engine performs 1200 joule of work per cycle. Okay, work is given. Heat energy delivered by the engine to the lower temperature reservoir. Okay, so which one is this? Is this the requirement, or is it the input, or is the wastage? In case of an engine, what you throw to the lower temperature reservoir is the wastage. He's asking the wastage here. Okay, so using this 900 and 300, obviously you will first get the efficiency. Okay, so once you get the efficiency, you know the ratio of the input to output, and from there the energy delivered to the lower reservoir, which is the wastage, is equal to what you gave minus how much work it delivered. Okay, 600 joule is the wastage that he's asking. Okay, right. Another one, Carnot freezer means refrigerator takes heat from water at 0 degrees centigrade inside it and rejects it to the room at a temperature of 27 degrees centigrade. So inside the refrigerator 0, outside the room it is 27. The latent heat of ice is given. If 5 kg of water at 0 degrees centigrade is converted into ice at 0 degrees centigrade by the freezer, then the energy consumed by the freezer to do so is. Okay, so heat is given, how much energy is consumed. Remember, energy is consumed in the form of what? Okay, I'll just pause a second, try to think. What is he asking in this language? Energy consumed by freezer, electricity, right? And that is the work that is to be consumed. W is what is being asked. Okay, once you identify what he's asking, all these questions are cakewalks. It's more about the language of what he's asking there. Okay, right. So once you have decoded that, it's pretty simple. As you could see, W is being asked. Okay, let's move forward. Next style of questions that are quite favorite with the JEE advanced people about Carnot engines are the cascades or series, one after another. You take the output of one and make it the input of the second one. That's called a series Carnot engine situation. So I picked up the latest question, and as you move along, you see these questions have been repeated from past JEE papers also. Two ideal Carnot engines operate in cascade. All heat given up by one engine is used by the other engine to produce work. So the wastage of one becomes the input to the other between temperatures T1 and T2. Okay, so these are going to work between T1 and T2. The temperature of hot reservoir of the first engine is T1 and temperature of the cold reservoir of the second engine is T2. T is the temperature of the sink of the first engine, which is also the source of the second. So this is the intermediate temperature, which becomes the sink. Sink means that wastage part, and the source for the second one, that intermediate temperature. How is T related to T1 if both the engines perform equal amount of work? That's what he's asking. Okay. He's given arithmetic, harmonic, and geometric mean. Option D is nonsense. Okay, so you'll understand that if you know a bit of thermodynamics. Okay, so let's move forward. you could see that the value of the work of the first and second, that's the hint given in the question. This is the most important line in the question, that the work of the first and second is the same. That means the difference of QH and QL and QL and Q2 is the same. Therefore, you rearrange, you end up getting the Q's to be in arithmetic progression. Okay, so you rearrange and then you would end up getting that even the temperatures like this would be in arithmetic progression. So if the work of one is equal to the work of second, then the temperatures that you are looking at for the engines would be in arithmetic progression. Okay, right. Here's another question. Remember, always all series engines need not have the same work. They should mention that. Okay, they can give you some other condition which you could see in this particular question. So don't take it as thumb rule. Three Carnot engines operate in series between a heat source at a temperature T1 and a heat sink at temperature T4. Okay, so this is the source and this is the sink. These are intermediate temperatures this time. There are two other reservoirs at temperatures T2 and T3 as shown, and all this information is given. The three engines are equally efficient. Last time equal work engines, this time equal efficiency engines. So always look out for that information that is provided. Okay, and these are the options that they mentioned. I think once efficiencies are given to be equal, you know how to write the expressions here. Okay, so I hope you have given it a proper try. I'm going to show up the solution now. See, efficiencies are equal, therefore these ratios are equal, which means the temperatures this time are in geometric progression, and use these geometric progressions to match the options. They didn't give the direct mapping. Okay, so you have to manipulate these options and get to these answers. Okay, all right, which is a cakewalk for you. You study good enough AP, GP, and HP ideas in mathematics. I think you should be decent enough to crack these options. Okay, look at the options, map it. Next one. Two Carnot engines A and B are operated in series. The first one receives the heat at 600 and rejects to the reservoir at T2. The second one receives the heat rejected by first in turn. This is the same. I think you could see again the same question. Okay, right. I hope I have not put up the same question. 7th Jan 2020. It looks like the same, right? 9th Jan 2019. It's the same question they have asked. So just to tell, even I got confused. I thought I've repeated the question twice. It isn't. So it's the same. There's no fun in again doing this. Okay. So now, so I just want you to solve this practice problem on a similar concept. Read the question carefully. Okay. Right. I found a problem or an issue with this question with all the concept that I have taught in the last two problems. Two Carnot engines again boringly are in series, and this was the 2018 question. Okay, so what is the issue with the problem? I'll give you the solution also. JEE did not change the key also for this one. They gave a key, the textbook follows that key, but I found a issue. The answer is ambiguous. So please do comment if you found any issue with this question with the timestamp below in the comment section. Okay, so I will be waiting for your comment on this. So this is the solution given. Check it out. Don't mug up things like this. Okay, so this is very bad according to me. So if you have understood any of the things that I've taught in the last 5 to 10 minutes on Carnot engines, I think you should be able to find the mistake, and finding a mistake in some solution makes you better definitely. Okay, so let's move forward. A famous KVPY interview question that keeps repeating, and it came also in the 2012 JEE mains examination, right? So a science puzzle as they call it. Okay, so door of a working refrigerator is left open in a well insulated room. You have a room, your AC is not working, and therefore you decide to open the fridge door, and your thought process is, let's say that fridge door opening will ensure that the room becomes cooler. So does it happen that way? It's a trick question. Obviously they'll ask, uncommon answer would be there, but why is that so? Temperature of the air in the room will increase or decrease, or does it depend on whether it's summer or winter, is the situation provided. Okay, so some of you know the answer and few of you know why it is the answer also, I guess. Okay, so the idea is, you should know that in a refrigerator, the heat dissipated in the atmosphere or to the atmosphere is more than the that is taken from the cooling chamber. Therefore, the room actually gets heated. That means that Q1 and Q2 comparison, if you remember the NCERT textbook diagram, I just picked that one out. From the cold reservoir, whatever Q2 is being taken, this Q1, which goes into your room, would be higher actually. Remember the refrigerator's backside is still inside the room. That's why the AC, the heat pump's backside, that split AC as they call it, that split part is outside your room. Therefore, whatever is being rejected is not going to come into your room. Whereas in the refrigerator, you don't have that luxury, right? The backside pump is going to reject this Q1 into the room itself. So the value of this Q1 is definitely greater than Q2. That's why even in your window AC, as they call it, it is attached so that the Q1 part doesn't enter the room; it goes outside the window. So that is not the purpose of the refrigerator. Its door is supposed to be kept closed, otherwise it's going to give you adverse effect as mentioned in this question. So I hope you appreciate this idea. Some more theoretical practice problems. Okay, so that they have asked in the past. Okay, which statement is incorrect? All reversible cycles have same efficiency. Reversible cycle has more efficiency than an irreversible one. Carnot cycle is a reversible one. Carnot cycle has maximum efficiency of all cycles. Okay, I think you would have got this immediately. Just give it a try. Pause the video. Think. Even the second one, Carnot engine cannot give 100% efficiency because we cannot. 2002 was a very weird AIEEE examination. This was the first AIEEE examination during our batch. Our batch wrote in 2002. So this was the first time. And they gave somewhere around 150 questions in each subject, 150 into 3. They did not know how to set a paper, how many questions to give. So this was very weird. You could see continuously 2 questions were asked on the same concept. Okay, right. Straightforward ones anyways. So these are the solutions for it. I hope you can go through that. All reversible Carnot engines have same efficiencies if their working temperatures, that T high and T low, are the same. Otherwise, all Carnot engines don't have the same efficiency. Okay, so also option C is correct for the 79th question. In the 79th question, you see one of the important statements that will drive our video forward is that Carnot engine itself cannot give 100% efficiency, but that because you have the efficiency as 1 minus T low divided by T high, for it to give 100% efficiency, the T low value has to be 0. And this is not possible because no one can reach absolute zero temperature is the idea of third law of thermodynamics. Okay, right. So that's the whole logic. There is a fun way of remembering all 3 laws that we have in physics and chemistry. So the fun interpretation of that is first law tells you about energy conservation, that whatever you give, you can actually only get slightly lesser than that particular value. That means your Q and W are not equal to each other. There is always a delta U, right? So you cannot win, you can only break even. That means what you give, you can only get that much only. Break even in English means getting the same as what you given. All right, so Q input is equal to Q output, right? That's what he's telling. You cannot get more than what you give. Whereas you can only break even at absolute zero is the second law. It tells you that actually 100% efficiency, if you want, the value of T low has to be 0 Kelvin. That's what your second law tells you. And third law closes the door on that and says that you cannot reach that absolute zero. So these are the 3 fun poetic ways of remembering the 3 laws. Okay, all right, let's move forward. Coming to the poetic way, the second and third law is all related to the entropy. So not many questions have been asked on entropy. So I'll make a separate video on entropy for IOQP people, the Olympiad students. But there is a reference to uh, entropy questions in the past. So I picked up few questions in the PYQs here. This is ambiguous question. So let's go to the question and then see what the ambiguity is and why the JE has not changed the key. Okay. A solid body of constant heat capacity of 1 joule per Kelvin is being heated by keeping it in contact with reservoirs in 2 ways. Sequentially keeping in contact with 2 reservoirs such that each reservoir supplies same heat is the first process, or sequentially keeping in contact with 8 reservoirs such that each reservoir supplies same amount of heat. That means you're supposed to take it to some level using 2 steps or 8 steps. That's the two different things. In both cases, the body is brought from initial temperature of 100 degrees centigrade to final temperature of 200 degrees centigrade. The value of the entropy change of the body in each of these two cases is. So he's asking which of the four is the correct option. I'll show you the key given by NTA, and then I'll tell you what is my problem with that. Okay, so he says that since entropy is a state function, which is quite obvious, right? Entropy is a state function. Since initial and final state are the same, number of steps don't matter. Therefore, your answer for both the options should be same. That means out of the 4 options, you can clearly see that option D is the only case where both answers are same. So none of the other things match. And that's why option D was given, and that was the final key. The reason why we objected is, and we take this opportunity to calculate entropy, how to do the entropy calculation in case of a solid body. Okay, so this is for our future problems. So ds for any reversible process is dq by t. You should know this. Integration of ds for all the steps that he's talking about is integration of this, and for solids dq is ms dt during temperature changes. So ms comes out because mass is constant, s is given as that thing. So ms value is given as 1 in this problem. Okay, you could see at the top heat capacity dt by t, and therefore you end up getting in this problem ln T2 by T1. My issue with this is that this T2 by T1 that you take are absolute temperature and should have been substituted in Kelvin. 200 divided by 100 is not 2, because you have to do 200 plus 273 and 100 plus 273. This is a caution for future problems. I do understand if I were the student in the exam, I would have gone for D and come out. It tells you the rational way, but on the face value of it, definitely not the correct answer. Okay, right? So please make sure they can challenge you on this in the future question. Another type of question is the cyclic process given using entropy as one of the axes. Okay, so the famous one among them is the temperature entropy diagram of a reversible engine, which is given this way, and he's asking what is the efficiency of this cyclic process. Efficiency we till now understood from PV diagram or VT or anything else. So this is slightly different, and this is a T versus S diagram. Okay, so give it a try. I'll give you the solution in the next slide. We're almost coming to the end of the video. Okay, so let's move forward. You should know how to first of all calculate. The idea is the same. Efficiency is always the work done divided by Q input. That means the positive value of Q. Okay, so in this cyclic process, as you could see, the constant entropy process is the Q is equal to 0. ds is 0, then dq is 0. So Q3 is 0. Whereas in BC process, where temperature actually falls, right, and entropy is actually increasing, the value of Q1 would be a positive number. ds is positive, dq is positive, so Q1 is positive. Whereas in C2A, where entropy is decreasing continuously, each of these Q2, dQ2s should be negative, and therefore you end up having heat being rejected out. So the required efficiency should be 1 minus rejected heat Q2 divided by Q1. 1 minus Q2 by Q1 is the required efficiency. Now, how to get the value of this sum of these three, or that Q1 or Q2? It's about the area under the graph. For Q1, the area is this area of the entire trapezium. How do you know that? Because the Q integration should be integral TdS. Integral TdS is area under the TS graph. So the required answer, therefore, can be pictorially thought of as the area under this entire stuff, that is Q1, is the area under entire BC graph like this. Okay, right, I'll erase that. And then Q2 would be the area under the AC graph, which is up till here like this. So the area under rectangle and trapezium, that ratio is being asked here. Okay, so that ratio gives you 2 by 3, and therefore 1 minus 2 by 3 gives you 1 by 3. Okay, so I hope you appreciate this way of calculating the efficiency using entropy graph. As the last problem, for those who are interested in the Olympiad workout series, please do check out the Olympiad workout series. More than 20 odd good problems on different levels of Olympiad, right from starting level 1 of IOQP to the INPHO and the International Physics Olympiad questions are already taken up in this particular series. So please do uh, check out this. I want to provide more and more questions on this and not just getting enough time to devote to this particular series. I'm extremely sorry for those students who have been waiting for a lot of questions. I do promise in the last maybe 1 week before the exam, I try to my best to bring in as many questions as possible in this series so as to help the students out. Okay, so this one is the one that I made on entropy specifically for you students. So please try to comment your answer in the description below or the comment section below. I'll do come up with the solution in this series. Okay, so please do check out the rest of the questions. Also, all the thermodynamics challenges are put up in playlink lists, and those playlink lists are in the description below. They are ranging questions from JEE Advanced to Physics Olympiads. Please do check out all of them before you go to the IOQP examination and the JEE mains also. And the next video, upcoming videos, I have put a pause on the mechanics. I think we already did kinematics and Newton's laws and circular motion. So the next topic video would be, I would like it to be on work power energy and then center of mass collisions. I want to combine these two into one video. That's my initial effort. If I can't combine it, and if there are many questions and concepts, I'll split it. I'll never compromise on the quantity and also the quality. As you have seen, I've already divided thermodynamics, which was supposed to be one video, into 3 videos. I'll definitely have rotational mechanics as a separate video because a lot of concepts, a lot of talk that I want to have, and also new practice problems that I'm making up to be part of that particular video. So I hope you'll keep company in those videos that are going to come up in the next week. Okay, so and other solution series that you have on this channel, I don't want to waste your time describing them. All the links of the playlists are in the description below. Try to search for yourself, go through this playlist. If you're new to this channel, I request you to play 2 or 3 videos before your JEE mains or JEE advanced examination so that you can cover 170 180 odd quality videos that have put my sweat and blood into it. Okay, so please make sure you uh, take advantage of them. Okay, so please do give it a like the video pushed forward by YouTube algorithm to more and more audience, thereby spreading my channel. And intentions of my channel are very noble, as you would have already found out from the content and the quality that I maintain. Okay, so please do share it in the relevant Telegram and WhatsApp groups that you are part of, so that more subscriber base will be built up for this channel. Okay, so thanks for listening to me, and you are very patient, and I do appreciate the very good students and patient students. Okay, so see you in the next video.